today we are going, or this afternoon, we're going to be doing a student panel, and we have some of our lovely panelists here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass them a microphone, and down the line, could y'all talk about where you're from, what your major, your name, where you're from, your major, all of that, your introduction.
Hi everyone, can you, oh wow, that's really good. Hi everyone, my name is Felix. I'm currently a senior studying in public health, and I'm also in the 4+1 accelerated Masters in Public Health program in epidemiology. And let's see, I'm from Lexington, Massachusetts, but I recently moved to Milford, Massachusetts, so I'm in the central Mass area, so I'm an in-state student. Outside of academics, I am working as an admissions diversity fellow, which is why I'm on the panel today to talk to you about my experiences. And on top of that, I'm also a co-captain for the UMass Altitude Dance Crew, so if you do like dancing, please come join us. We need more people. In addition to that, I'm involved on campus as well in terms of research and internships. So I'm currently working with Dr. Nicole Van Kim on her research with diabetes risk and also chronic pain in women of varying sexual orientations. In addition to that, I am also working in internship with the Massachusetts Health Officers Association to kind of work with local boards of health and help with their needs. So yeah, if you have any questions about my experiences, feel free to ask and I'll be able to answer those. I'm also a transfer student, by the way, so yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Maya. I'm a sophomore, so my resume is much shorter than Felix's. I'm a psychology major, and I'm from Springfield, Massachusetts. Um, my involvement on campus is that I'm an admission diversity fellow, and I am currently not in any clubs or I don't hold any internship positions, but I'm actively looking for both.
Hi everyone, my name is Mayo. I'm from Port-au-Prince, Haiti, so I'm an international student. I'm a senior majoring in finance with a minor in managerial economics. For the past 2 years now, I've been a resident assistant in a multi-year dorm. I'm also treasurer for the UMass and the WCP, and I'm an ambitious fellow with these lovely people here. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Amherst. I'm also an international student. I'm from Botswana, which is a little country right next to South Africa. I'm a senior anthropology major, psychology major, and I'm a 4+1 in Masters of Science in Accounting, like here in Eisenberg. And in terms of what I do, I'm also admission diversity fellow. I've been a rape advocate at the Center for Women and Community on campus, which is basically the kind of thing on campus that deals with sexual assault and stuff like that. And I'm also a restorative justice member at the Center for Education of Policy and Advocacy on campus.
All right, so thank you all so much for introducing yourself. So I'm gonna just give them some questions to answer, but if you all feel like you have any questions that you'd like them to answer, then just raise your hand and we'll get your questions, but I'm gonna get the ball rolling with some of my own. So could one or all of you answer how Amherst compares to your hometown and what you like about the differences or similarities? And I know this is gonna be especially different for Ame and Mayel, but could you let us know a little bit about that?
It could not be further. Honestly, for me, the biggest adjustment was the cold. I used to visit the US a lot, so it wasn't that much different. So I'm used to the US, but adjusting to living here was something. But I guess the small town vibe is something that's very different. There's a lot of college students, so it really just, I mean, I can't believe sometimes, like, do people live here outside of like the semester? Like, it's a little weird, but it's a great town to live in, definitely. I think Phoenix.
So I'm from Springfield, which is only 40 minutes away from here. And I grew up coming here to go to Trader Joe's. So I'm a little familiar with the area, but I like the small town vibe, I guess. Going into like town center, you can get boba, you can go to a bookstore, you can eat out with your friends, go to Amherst Cinema. I really like that environment, and I think it is nice because UMass is kind of like a city in itself. So when you do like venture out to Amherst or Northampton, it's nice to get off campus.
Let's see. So I don't want to compare it to Lexington, but I'll compare it to Milford because that's where I'm living right now. But I don't know if you guys are from the area of Central Mass, but there's like almost literally nothing there. So when I'm here in Amherst, I actually enjoy it a lot because there's a lot of students around, there's a lot of people my age around, walking around everywhere. There's a lot of things to do in the center of the town too, like what my colleague said before. I was like, you can get boba, you can get food, you can get almost anything in the center. So you actually have a reason to go out, whereas when I'm at home, I don't really have a reason to go out, so I'll end up staying at home. So I actually really do enjoy Amherst a lot, and I kind of miss it. So yeah.
Great, so going off of that, since you all talked about going to Amherst and going to Northampton, how easy is it to get into the town of Amherst and into Northampton? And are there ways to get to the nearby cities like Boston, New York? How do you get around, or how do other students get around?
For me personally, the PBTA buses run all the time, and there's a bunch of apps that you can use to find out like bus times and what buses you need to take to go anywhere. And so, personally, I've used the PBTA buses to go not like from Northampton, Mount Holyoke, even Springfield, even to Boston. I've used not PBTA buses, but I've used Peter Pan buses. It's very accessible and it's always free. You just need to have your UMass U card with you.
Great. So for those of you who don't know, the PBTA is the Pioneer Valley Transit Authority, and it is a free bus system that runs throughout our campus, runs every 15 minutes, and then it runs to the other 4 schools in the area, to the town, even into Springfield, so it's really convenient and Peter Pan stops on our campus. So thank you all for that. So before I keep asking my questions, does anybody else have questions for our students? I feel like it's ready to answer anything. Yes.
I would say when I was a new transfer student here, I kind of stayed in Amherst a lot to explore the area. But now that I'm a senior and I've kind of got a feel for Amherst, I've been moving around to like Northampton, Hadley as well. So I do have a car on campus, which makes it a little bit easier to kind of go around now. But even without a car, like I still sometimes take the public transit and go around very often. Like I know Northampton has a lot of really fun stuff. Like you can go shopping there. There's a lot of nice little stores you can go into. So I go in there, and Hadley has like the Target, which everyone needs to go at some point in their college life here. Like Target is a must. So that's actually really accessible too. So I do go around a lot now. But when I was first on campus, I mostly traveled the Amherst area. Do you guys have any stuff you want to add to it?
All right. So, someone had a question? Yes. Yeah, from the beginning, students are allowed to have cars on campus, first year.
Yeah, to add on to that, you just need to buy a parking permit, and you can park in a specific lot all the time, 24/7, as long as you have that permit. So yeah.
Yeah, back there.
What's your favorite dining combination?
We'll go down the line.
Yeah.
This is a hard one to answer. I'm gonna throw a curveball and I'm gonna say ham.
Why is ham your favorite?
Why is ham my favorite? I don't know, I think it's just well designed. I know like people talk about Worcester a lot and how it's like, oh, it's the new dining common, but I feel like ham, like the food there is really good all the time. Like every time I've been there, it's been really good. The layout of it is also really easy to navigate to because like all the food is in the center and all the tables are in that circle around it. So it's really easy to get food. The only hard part about it is it's really far from where I'm living right now, so it's kind of a hassle, but I will make the trek to go all the way to Ham to get food.
I would say my favorite dining common is probably Worcester, which is boring because it's the newest one. But I like that there's additional seating in the bottom floor, so you can take your food from upstairs and go downstairs, which I think is nice because sometimes it can be a little crowded in the dining hall. And also the food is really good.
My favorite is very dependent on the distance. Freshman year I lived in Central, so Frank was closest, so Frank was my favorite. I've been living in Southwest for 2 years now, and my favorite is Ham. It's right outside the door. So, and the food is really good too. It's a healthy dining content, so try to stay healthy.
My favorite is also ham, just because I'm in the honors college, so it is the closest to me, and also like they have avocado toast and sushi all the time, so I love ham.
So going off of that, could y'all talk about what housing is like on campus and how many students that you know like live on campus, live off campus, and what the housing experiences have been like for you?
So I'm a resident assistant, so I think I can really help with that one. So freshmen usually live on campus the first year, obviously makes things easier. And throughout your journey here, junior, senior, people tend to move off campus. So freshman year, you will be in a freshman dorm. You have resident assistants that are there to help you navigate this new environment, give you the support and resources that you need. But as soon as you become a sophomore, you go into multi-year dorms, and you also have resident assistants there to support you and give you resources. So you're never really alone. And you also have resources on campus that help you find housing off campus and help you read like legal documents like leases and all that. So the campus, the university really helps you no matter what you decide to do for housing.
I've lived in Southwest for the 2 years I've been here, and I really enjoy it. It's very close to two of the dining commons, Hampshire and Berkshire. And I actually live in the same building as my own, and we live 2 seconds away from Ham, which is really nice because whenever you want to eat, you can just go downstairs. I feel that I would probably live on campus all 4 years just because that's what I see for myself. But I think like 25% of seniors and I think it's 50% of juniors live on campus. But for me, I feel like it's most cost effective to live on campus for me.
Yeah, I think as you get older and as you go up in the years of college, like people tend to move out more. So like obviously 100% of freshmen are here in their first year because you have to be on campus. But as you go into sophomore, junior, senior, a lot of people tend to move out. And it was mentioned before, like the off-campus housing. Office is actually really helpful. I'm actually in contact with them right now to try and get housing for my next year during my grad school year. And they've actually been super helpful with that too. Like they help me list out all the options within my budget, trying to figure out how to get a lease going, how to sign a lease, all of that, like what to look for, like are utilities included, et cetera, et cetera. So they've actually been really helpful with that. So I know a lot of people who do still choose to stay on campus, but if you do decide to move off campus, like that transition is also very seamless too. So yeah.
Great, all right, thank you all for sharing that. So now let's talk a little bit about some academic stuff. So could you, one of you or some of you or all of you talk about, we're a research university, so could you talk a little bit about how students in campus get involved in research, if any of you have gotten involved in research in any way?
So I'm currently involved in research right now, and the way that I got it was actually the way that most people do get it, or an avenue that a lot of people take, which is actually reaching out to your professor. So actually for this research that I got, my professor reached out to me and was like, oh, I would like you to be a part of my research, and you seem like you have all the skills that I'm looking for in a student. Would you be interested? And I was like, yeah, sure. But most of the time, like the students will reach out to professors. So if you have a class that you're interested in, and the professor is involved in some sort of research that align with your interests, you can always shoot them an email and ask like, hey, I noticed that you mentioned this research field that you're working on, and I'm interested in that. Do you have any openings for an undergraduate research position? And most of the time they will say yes, and you don't even need to go through an interview because they already know you, hopefully by the time, so you can just go right into it. But if that's not an option for you, there is the Office of Undergraduate Research Studies, which is ours for sure. And that is an office dedicated to help undergraduate students and graduate students later find research opportunities on campus. So there's a lot of different avenues you can take. You don't need to just be a STEM major to get research. I know some people who are English majors, writing majors, who also get research opportunities on campus through like the writing lab, et cetera, et cetera. So the misconception or the misunderstanding that a lot of people have is that you only need to be in STEM or like those hard sciences to be in research, but that's definitely not true. Because I definitely know a lot of people who have been involved in research that are not STEM majors. So yeah, research is something that's very common for us.
All right, so have any of you changed your major or added on a minor or anything? Could you talk about how easy it is to do something like that?
So my freshman year, I was a biochemistry major, and I was in a lot of bio courses. I took a chem class, and I would say I was really drained by the end of the first semester. I was not happy, so I wanted to take a step towards trying to figure out if I could change my major. So I spoke to one of my advisors. A website we use here at UMass is called Navigate. So I was able to go on my Navigate. I made an appointment with an advisor. I kind of voiced my worries about my major. They were able to give me advice. They told me to start taking psychology classes since that was the major I wanted to move forward to. But I was still a biochem major, so if I decided to change my mind, I could always go back and keep the major I started out with. But now I'm a psych major. I changed last semester in the spring, and everything's been really good so far. If I ever need any help, I can go to an advisor in the psychology department, which is really nice. Or I could visit Tobin Hall, which is like a psych department building. So it's really nice.
Freshman year, I started as an economics major. Loved economics, but got here and I was like, what am I going to do with this? Like, it's a little too broad. So I was thinking about finance, and to get into Eisenberg, you had to fill out an application to transfer to a school. So that's what I did. But I also didn't want to leave behind the macroeconomics part of things. And I found out about managerial economics, which is very quantitative and takes in both micro and macro factors. So I'm really I'm going to minor in managerial economics. So now I have a major and a minor, but it was very smooth. You just have to reach out to your advisor, talk to the people in the school that you want to go to, get the information that you need, and they'll really support you through the whole process. It's pretty smooth.
As for me, I just wanted to say when applying for a minor, you don't necessarily have to, it's not a formal application. You can like Google online, for example, a psych minor. I just added it my junior year and now I'm a senior. You just have to take 5 psych courses and then you fill out a form and you get the minor, so you don't necessarily have to apply in. But then also in terms of changing the major, like you were talking about Eisenberg, now I'm like a 4+1, like MS in accounting. And I feel like they were supportive in that. If you ask them prior, they'll tell you what you need to do in order to get into the program. Like for example, because anthropology doesn't even have that many like quantitative courses, they told me to take like calculus and stuff in preparation for that program. So even if you're like a freshman or a sophomore and you're thinking about grad school here, like you can still reach out to them early.
And odds are really high that you change your major. Your freshman year, like everybody I know changed their major, so.
Yeah, that's a good point. So we have the supports here for you to change. Even there's gonna be a lot of times probably where a student is like, this is exactly what I want to do. This is what I want to happen. This is where I'm going to be. And then they come here and they take one class and they're like, absolutely not. So we have the resources here to support you if that happens, if and when that happens. I feel like it happens pretty often. So I do want to open it up to the floor for y'all with questions, but I just wanted to ask Felix, since you are a transfer student, what was the process like for you transferring to different, like transitioning to a different school and transferring your credits?
Yeah, that was a whole saga of my life, I would say. But I think the actual transfer process was very smooth for me. What happened was I used to study game design and computer science at a different school. And then after taking a gap year, I decided to transfer. And now I'm public health, so it's a completely different fields of studies. So I was really worried that my credits that I was taking, like my CS courses, my physics courses, my math courses that I was taking in my previous institution, I was really worried that they wouldn't really transfer over. But luckily there was transfer advisors. So you have your academic advisors. So while you're here in your major, you have advisors for that major. But there's also transfer advisors. So when you're transferring or in the process of transferring, you have an actual advisor that will work with you to make sure you have all your credits transferred over and everything is very smooth and seamless. So I was in touch with my transfer advisor a lot, and she helped me through and made sure that all the credits that I took actually went over. And it was a completely different field of experience or change, I'd say. But in terms of the actual process, it was very easy for me, and I felt very supported throughout the entire process. And now I'm here, almost getting ready to graduate early. So I think it worked out really well. So.
Great, great. So are there any questions that y'all have for our students? I have more, but I want to make sure that you can ask questions. Yeah. So for anybody that didn't hear, what kind of clubs do we have? Sports clubs, things like that.
Are you guys in any sports clubs?
Or any other clubs.
I know we have over like 300 or 400 clubs right now at the moment, ranging from a lot of different things. I know there's different levels of sports as well. There's like intramural, which is very like casual. There's like club sports, varsity sports. So there's a lot of different types. It ranges from like we have basketball, hockey, lacrosse. We have all these other. Yeah, we have a lot honestly. There's like a swimming and like a water polo club too.
Quidditch is one.
Quidditch club. So yeah, there's a lot of clubs out there. I didn't have an issue finding clubs that align with what I wanted to do, and even if there isn't, it's very easy to set one up. So yeah. Any other questions?
Or if you talk about student safety on campus, especially women's safety, both on campus and off
So I can talk about in terms of like the CWC, the Center for Women and Community on campus. It's right in the New Africa House, which like very close to Frank, so it's always open, and they have a hotline that anyone can, call all the time. We also have like the blue lights on campus, and so if you're maybe at night or something and you feel unsafe, you can literally, stand by the blue light and press it. And also, I'm pretty sure you can talk about it, but I'm pretty sure resident assistants also have some form of like discussions on it and stuff.
Yes, definitely. When you join a dorm, we'll let you know about all the resources that are available to you for your safety. Even as resident assistants, are here to ensure your safety. So the most you can even think of, we're involved in it, and we have to figure out a way to keep you safe. But the blue light, I used it personally freshman year. I was coming home from a party, and it was so cold. I didn't want to walk alone. I was with her, but we didn't want to walk alone back to the dorm, so we pressed the button. Police officer showed up in like a minute or two, and he walked us back to our dorm. So it's really a priority for UMass, I think, and I don't think I've ever felt unsafe on campus. I'm not off campus a lot enough for me, like at night or something, but on campus I feel really safe.
I would say even off campus, when I've ventured out and gone out, I felt safe in Amherst. I don't think I've ever felt like I was in any type of threatening situation, even if I was out at night with my friends. Amherst is a very nice town, which is like nice. And even in Northampton, I feel like I've felt very safe when I've been there.
Great. Any other questions? Yeah.
My experience is through a RAP, which is a residential.
Academic program.
I always miss the
We
A.
use a lot of acronyms, so we forget what they actually mean.
Yes. And my rap was for first generation STEM students. So all the kids on one side of my floor, we all had class together, which was like really nice. So I think it was less than 20 kids in one class. And I was able to make one of my best friends in that class. And I feel like having the support, we would do study groups. Of course, since we all went to class together, we would walk to class in like a big group. So that helped me build my community a lot. And I know there's a lot of raps that students can apply to when they're looking to come to UMass. So that's also a good thing.
I was also in a rap, so I had a similar experience. But also, if you join clubs, it seems like a big campus, but it just gets smaller the longer you're here. And if you join clubs and you meet people with similar interests as you pretty much quickly make friends and find your own group and community. And I'm still very close to the friends that I made freshman year, and it just keeps expanding throughout the years. And like I said, the campus becomes smaller, and you're like, oh, I know this. Do you know how? I'm like, there's 30,000 something people on this campus. Why do I keep seeing the same people? It gets smaller. It's not as intimidating as you think it is.
And even if you're not a part of the club, you can still, clubs will always have like events, like I know for SBS, like different colleges will have newsletters that will tell you about different events that are happening. And I've walked into different multicultural clubs without knowing anyone, and I walked out with friends, sorry, with friends, and it's just like you said, like it's a big campus, but I feel like that makes there's more opportunity to meet people that are just like you. Like everyone said, like there's a club for there's a pajama club or something on this campus. I've seen it, so you will find a community here.
There's a club for walking outside. I don't remember what it's called, but it's one of the oldest clubs on campus, just for walking and exploring outside. So.
Let's see. I think I actually can relate to that question a lot because as a transfer student, I started off with kind of a similar experience as a freshman student coming in, where it's like my previous institution was like really small. It was like 7,000 people compared to the 23,000 plus that we have on UMass. So I thought it was actually going to be really daunting for me too. But the main way I found my community was through my dance community and also my archery club. So I'm a part of those two clubs right now. And I think that through that, like having practices together and like seeing the same people over and over again, like I was able to bond with them really closely. Same thing with archery club as well. So very quickly it made my experience being like, oh my god, there's so many like people here, 20,000, like I don't know what to do, to a much more reasonable 30 people that I can like really connect to and see all the time and practice with the same interests. So I think that's one of the main reasons how people really find their community here at UMass. So, yeah.
Great, thank you. Any other questions from the crowd? Yeah.
I would say a 7 or 8. You know, when I was it's very surprising. I think when I was going into school too, like people talked about how disgusting dorms can be, and my expectations of dorms were like here, but it definitely exceeded my expectations when I came to UMass. There's people that clean the dorms all the time, like the bathrooms, the showers, every day. So it's actually, I haven't had an issue where it was like unclean or messy or like really gross. But I think the dorm rooms can feel a little small sometimes, but that's just the nature of dorm rooms, and also like the lack of privacy. Obviously, if you just have a roommate, that might be difficult. But that's something you can work with and figure conflicts out if you have any conflicts with any roommates and stuff. So I personally thought my dorm experience was actually pretty good.
Last year, I obviously lived in freshman housing, and I would say that was a 9. But I also was very lucky. The floor, I lived in James Hall, which is behind Hamp Dining Hall. Other than the smells that come from Hamp, I feel like it was really nice. But I had a really nice floor. The bathrooms were fine. There was no like issues with cleanliness or hygiene or anything like that. This year I'm in Coolidge, which is a tower, and I would say I would probably give it like a 6. But last night they turned the heat on, so I'm very excited. It's warm in the building, so it made my score go up by 1.
I'm so happy. It's so cold, guys. Freshman year, I lived in Van Meter, which is in Central. I think it's one of the newly renovated dorms, so if you can live up there, highly recommend. It was like an 8 for me. Really liked it. Junior year, now my senior year, I've lived in Coolidge, and I think I would also rate it like, I have my room to myself, so I feel like my opinion is biased, but I think I would also rate it like a 6. It's clean, people are nice, residence assistants are great, they help you with everything you need. Yeah, I think it's a good experience.
For me personally, I've lived in the Honors College ever since I got here, and so like I've lived in most buildings, and it's a 9.5 to 10 for me. Like I'm comfortable. There's a thermostat. Like it's like I have my own little apartment, so I'm happy. And I've always not always, but almost always had a roommate, and even then, like even when I had to share my space, like I was still pretty comfortable.
You guys have AC.
Yeah.
Okay, nobody else has AC but there.
That's the big selling point for the CHC housing is the AC, even though y'all only need it from September to May, but sure. Okay, thank you, Paul, for sharing that. Do we have other questions? Yes, here and then, and then over here.
Where I was housed was based on my rap, so because I was in a certain program, I was put on the 4th floor of James. I'm not sure about another issue.
I do know that when you're coming in as a freshman, you can rank like your top, I don't know how many dorms are, like 10 or 11 or something? More than that. Yeah, oh, that's what it is. You rate your residential areas. So like Northeast, Central, Southwest, like you can rate those from like your 1 to 5 or like your most desired to your least desired. And then based off of that, they will try and put you into that dorm in that residential area. What I do know is that a lot of people choose their dorm based off of where their classes are going to be. So like, I know like if you're in a comp sci major, a lot of your classes are going to be near where Northeast is. So it tends to be that a lot of comp sci majors, a lot of engineering majors are in that area. And like, except the same thing with like Southwest. A lot of like, Eisenberg is right next to Southwest. So some people will choose that to go to Southwest because it's right next to their classes. So that's what a lot of people do choose. As you go later on in your college career and your journey, you have a ticketing system where you just get a ticket, and based off of that ticket, you can go in to the portal and sign up for housing. So that's just like you won't be able to rank it, but that's when you actually start to choose it. So only in your first year is where you rank, and then they'll give it to you. Afterwards, you just go in and choose whatever dorm you want.
Coming from high school to UMass, I would say especially because of my major, I chose a very hard major, which I regret a little bit, but the workload was definitely a lot. I was taking bio classes that I would say I was studying probably every day for them. Especially like when I got into chemistry, that was a lot of studying just to get everything to click. I attended, the school offers things like SI sessions, so you can go and get additional help with your work, depending on what class you're in. So I would say the workload is definitely a lot, but it is manageable. It's just time management, which is something I'm not very good at. So when I came here, I struggled a lot with trying to figure out how to balance, I guess, like social life with work. I also wanted to get a job, so which I do not recommend. Your freshman year, I do not think you should get a job. Maybe your second semester, but I think you should focus a lot on academics and meeting people and things like that. But the workload is definitely different from high school.
I think adding on to that, it's definitely difficult. Like, it's not as hard as you would like think. It's not like the worst thing in the world where like, oh my god, there's so many classes, what do I do? But it's not easy. So you definitely have to put the work into it. It's just finding, like what she said, is finding like blocks of time where you can do your work and time managing yourself so that you can succeed. In terms of like actual workload, I feel like depending on where you went to high school, it can definitely change your preparedness of like, okay, I feel like ready for college. But I think despite where you are in terms of your readiness, like your support network here at school at like UMass is like very well structured. Like you have your advisors, you have professors you can always reach out to, you have TAs. And another way to reiterate is that like your classes aren't always going to be hard. As you go forward in your college, like there might be at first, you might have really big lecture halls, so it's very difficult for you to actually connect with the professor and like get one-on-one help. But as you go forward, classes will get smaller and they will get more engaging and more fun. So like that's when you start to like really kind of enjoy like your academics and get a groove with everything. So yeah.
So I'm not STEM, but I did take mainly STEM courses like bio, physics, orgo, my first like year or 2 years, and I also did research at the same time. So it definitely is a lot, but I would say it's different in that professors won't necessarily follow you. They'll give you deadlines, and then it's up to you to decide like when you want to fulfill those deadlines. Like most of your work is more outside of class than in class, and with like I'm not sure if it's with non-STEM courses too, but with STEM courses, there's like supplemental instruction, which is like basically like tutoring sessions for that specific professor and that specific course before every single quiz and stuff. And so there's so many resources on campus. There's individual tutors at the library. There's a supplemental instruction. There's like office hours. Personally, at least for physics, office hours are like 5 hours a day of office hours. You can reach out to multiple TAs, even if it's not your own TA. So It is a lot, but there's a lot of support outside of class.
I'm not a STEM major. I will say that the workload depends. I think it depends a lot on what you're studying. Especially the freshman year, you'll probably be taking mostly gen ed classes, general education classes, so you're satisfying requirements like history or um, math, you know? So those classes, especially those first classes, you get a lot of support. There'll probably be like 10 TAs for that class, and you'll have their contact info, and like I said, there's tutoring. You'll never feel like there is somebody there to help you out. If it gets too much, you can actually find people to help you make a schedule and help you with time management to get your tasks done. So it's not as daunting as it seems.
And one final tip is procrastination is not going to work in college. I know like you're going to be thinking like, oh, I know this college student is telling you procrastination is not going to work, but it really is true. In high school, you could probably get away with it, but when you get into college, you soon realize that deadlines come like really quickly, like just like that. And like right after, you'll have exams, like midterms throughout the semester too. So like things will come up quickly, and by the time you realize something is due like that night, it might be too late. But to counteract that, professors generally are very understanding and flexible. So if you do need extensions and you reach out to them and let them know, they'll be understanding of it. But just know that procrastination is not going to help anyone out here.
All right, we got a question in the front.
Yeah, like I'm in the process of trying to find off-campus housing for this upcoming semester, and there's the Office of Off-Campus Housing. So it's like UMass has an office that helps connect landlords to UMass students. It's not necessarily like UMass owns these houses, but they help connect students to it. So yeah, it's like the closest thing I can think of. Yeah.
Any other questions? We have about 6 minutes left. Yes, back there.
Any favorite traditions, or do you do anything special to celebrate seniors before they graduate?
You mean seniors at UMass?
Right, like do they have like a senior week for?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure about senior stuff specifically, but are there other traditions that y'all know about that people enjoy? Sorry, say that again?
Annual events they look forward to.
Yeah. What about the Halloween? Does anyone want to talk about the Halloween tradition?
The Halloween tradition here at UMass is that we have steak and lobster for dinner. Last year I had 3 lobsters, so I enjoyed myself thoroughly. And this year I'm going for 4.
For seniors, I remember last year, I think each school does something different for their seniors. And they have events for like a whole weekend right before graduation, I believe. So that's all.
Are there any no. Are there any other questions yet?
I've had multiple classes of 300 to 500 people. The best way to relate is to walk up to the professor and try to speak to them. They'll always be happy to talk to you to your office hours, even if it's not related to the content of the class. You just chat, talk about their experience, what they know, and it's a great way to build rapport with them. The TAs are usually in class as well, so we can also talk to them, email them if you have any questions. Really, your experience is as much as you put into it. As long as you reach out, you'll get the support that you need, and you'll build the connections that you want.
Yeah, adding on to that, I think a common trend about college is that the experience you get out of it is, like what you said, is what you put into it. So like most of the times, college professors, advisors, they'll all be there to help. They're not going to necessarily reach out to you. You have to be the one to make the first step as a student to get that engagement. And I think for me, my experience was I did the same thing. Like the first day of classes, or like within the first week, I reached out and I just went to office hours for one of my professors. And like I didn't have nothing to talk about because I didn't have questions. It was the first class, but I was like, "Hi, my name is Felix. I am in your class of, let's say, biology." And then they start to get that face to that name instead of just being a sea of random students, they'll be able to actually recognize you, and from there you can start building the relationship and like, going to office hours more often, or even just talking with them outside of class. And in addition to that, even though you might have a 300 or 500 student class, they're all divided up into smaller discussion sections of 30 to 40 people, and that's when you're assigned a specific TA or a teaching assistant. And from there, it's like a much smaller like study group session that you can really get, your knowledge and like relationships with your TA, and then also your professor as well. So that's like one of the main ways I went, and that's how I actually still have a really good relationship with my first professor I met. Was just reaching out to them and saying hi. That's all it really takes.
Great. Well, I do want to be mindful of time, so I think a good question to wrap this up with would be, why did you all choose UMass Amherst? Okay.
I think I chose UMass because one, the academics. At least for public health, UMass is one of the only schools in New England that is accredited in public health, like in their curriculum. So I think that was one of the main reasons why I chose it, and because they offered the 4+1 MPH program. But in addition to that, UMass was a very affordable option for me, as someone who had to pay for college on their own and figure out debt and all of that. UMass was just really affordable for me, and I think at first I was a little bit upset about choosing UMass, but I definitely realize now that this was the right choice for me. Looking back on my decisions of trying to figure out which school I want to transfer to out of the options that I had. And in the end, I chose UMass also because of the food.
My college, I guess, application process was, I don't think it was too weird. I always say it was weird, but I wanted to go to a different school in Washington, D.C. So I had gotten back the decision from that school and I was waitlisted. And suddenly it became like a waiting game. Am I going to wait for them to give me my decision, or am I going to commit to another school? And at the end of the day, I think it came down to what school was best financially for me and my family. And so I chose UMass because obviously it's a state school. And I live close, and like Felix said, #1 daddy, 6 years in a row.
We do.
We talk about it a lot. We will not stop hearing about it. So I come from a totally different country. So when I was going through this process of picking out the schools that I wanted to apply to, a big factor was picking a state where I had family. So Massachusetts, I have a lot of family here, so that's why I picked Massachusetts. Applied to UMass Boston, UMass Amherst, you know that. I did a lot of research, read up and down like the whole website. And I think a big thing for me was to be in an environment where I felt welcome and safe, and where I felt like the school would care about me. I come from a predominantly Black country, so coming to, I don't know, to America is something different. But I just wanted to be in an environment where I felt like that would be seen and people would be considerate, and I feel like I was going to be supported throughout my journey here. And honestly, most of the reasons why I chose UMass, I discovered them as I was here. Like amazing people, faculty is so nice. You really feel like you're getting something out of your experience here for 4 years, so I recommend.
So I feel like my reason was a little unique in terms of so I'm from Botswana, but I'm like the only Botswana on this campus in New England in general. Like I don't know why, but there's just no Botswana in America. And so when I was applying to schools in America, I applied to like Pittsburgh, I applied everywhere. And I felt that most schools other than UMass like just wanted to add my country to their list rather than actually caring about. They hear like, oh, you're Botswana, like come here, like. But they didn't offer me any resources, and so I applied. Not offered. I asked emailed the advisor at anthropology, and he really made an effort to make me feel like at home. Like he had like a day for Botswana to like teach other anthro students about Botswana. Even like I had one of his classes, and he actually taught about Botswana in that class, and that was the first time that I felt like that a school really wanted to accept me and accept my culture and care about me. So that's why I chose UMass.
Great. All right. Well, I would like to give a big thank you and a round of applause to our